to help you answer the question, do you have too much attack speed on your character? And to answer this, you need to be able to understand and answer the following two questions. One, how much attack speed can you get? And two, does plus attack speed become less effective the more you have? So the first thing, what is the attack speed cap? Well, there's a few things to know. First off, there are actually two buckets of attack speed, not just one. And each bucket caps at 100%. And these two buckets, they add together, which brings you to a total possible plus attack speed percentage of 200%. Let's look at an example using a calculator. So here's a calculator for Rogue, and don't worry, we'll look at the other ones for the other classes briefly here. But let's get the idea of how this works. So there are essentially two buckets, as I mentioned, and we'll call the first bucket cap 1 and the second bucket cap 2. And each of these buckets, again, have a maximum value of 100. And there are different things that can go into each of these buckets. So for example, for the first bucket, things like attack speed on dodge, attack speed on gloves, ravenous, moonrise, the close quarters combat marksman 10% buff, and Dariel's Visage, these things here. And here, these all add into the first bucket. While the second bucket, you have mostly aspects, but there are some other exceptions. So for example, accelerating aspect, rapid aspect, Ashira's, close quarters combat, the cutthroat part of it, and haste, alchemical advantage, basic attack speed, and these all go into the second bucket. And again, each bucket you can have only a total of 100%. If you go over 100% in a single bucket, then you get no additional attack speed from it. So for example, if I have, let's say, Ravenous, well now I have 80% in this first bucket. I could add, say, Moonrise, get another 20%. Well, now I'm at 100%. So now if, let's say, I put Indariel's Visage on, well, it doesn't go up at all. I'm still at 100%. It doesn't matter if I add Flurry in there, still at 100%. And I am now past the cap. Doesn't do me any good. Okay. Now, if I want to go over my total of 100%, well, I need to also get stuff from bucket 2. So for example, if I get accelerating, well now I have 25% in this bucket, and 25 plus 100% gives me a grand total attack speed of 125%. And again, I can add in things up to 100% into this bucket. So for example, if I get rapid, Ashira's, close quarters combat, the cutthroat part, I'm at 195. Now if I add in haste, well now I'm at 100% and I can't go over that. So now I am at a grand total of 200% using these things. So it's very important to understand what it is that you're putting on your character, what's the attack speed, where is it coming from, and in which bucket does it go into, so that you always end up getting some value out of your attack speed bonuses. And by the way, I was not the one who figured any of this out. I am just kind of the messenger of this. So Ava in the Rogue Discord, he figured this out, and then the calculator here I got from Sanctum. So if you're wondering, well, what about the other classes? Well, there is a whole spreadsheet here for all of the classes: Rogue, Source, Barbarian, Druid, and Necromancer. It looks like Necromancer is still being worked on, and I'll put a link to this in the description below. But to just kind of take a look at it briefly here, for example, we've got Rogue again, where we can see the different possible attack speed bonuses and how much they are worth. And they are highlighted as to which cap they go into. So Ravenous cap 1, Accelerating cap 2. For Sorcerer, we can see the different things listed here, and again, which cap each of the things go into, and Barbarian, Druid, and Necromancer. And credit to Ava for the Rogue, Tone for coming up with the stuff for Source, Polkai for Barbarian, and Dave for Druid. Alright, so now that we understand where we can get attack speed from and what the cap is, now does attack speed get weaker the more that you have? Or should we just try and get all 200% possible? Well, one key point is that attack speed is additive. So what does this mean? And to help us answer this question, let's do a quick example here. So for example, here, let's say we have an additional attack speed percent of 0%, meaning we don't have anything on our gear. And what that means then is that your attack speed would be currently 100%. This is your normal base attack speed that you start out with no additional attack speed. Now, let's say that we get a stack of attack speed of 20%. Well, now what would your attack speed be? Well, it'd be 20 plus the 100 gives us 120%. So what would our percent gain be from going from 100 to 120%? Well, to figure that out, we take how much did the attack speed go up by? Well, it went up by 20%. And then we divide that by how much attack speed did we have before? Well, it was 100%. So 100. So this would give us our percent change. So 20 divided by 100, that is 0.2 or 20%. So to go from 100 to 120%, we get a percent gain of 20%. Okay. All right, well, let's continue on. So let's say we now get another stack of 20%. So now our total attack speed is 40% additionally added. So now our attack speed would be another 20% added on, so 140%. Okay. So now what would our percent gain be? Well, we go from 120 to 140. So how much attack speed did we gain? Well, we gained 20 out of, what did we have before? Well, we had 120. And 20 divided by 120, that is 0.166 or 16.66 repeating, or 7% approximately, rounded. So now we would gain 16.7% in terms of attacking faster. We'd attack 16.7% faster than we were at 120%. Let's do this again, just to kind of see the trend here. So let's say I get another 20%. Well, now I'd be at 160%. So now what would my gain be? That is 14.2%. So we can clearly see that each time that we raise our attack speed by 20%, we're getting less and less percent gain in terms of how much faster we are going to attack. Now, let's take this to the most extreme possible. And let's say that I now have a total of 180% additional attack speed, which means that my attack speed would now be at 280% if we continue on here. And then let's say we get another 20% on top of that. So now I have 200% increased attack speed. So now my total attack speed would be 300%, meaning that I'm attacking 3 times as fast as I was at 100%. So now, what's my percent gain? Well, from 280 to 300%, that would be a gain of 20 over what did I have originally, 280. And 20 divided by 280 is 7.1%. Okay, so what's the point? Well, clearly we can see that adding more attack speed as we get to these higher values, well, it's not going to help us quite as much. Okay. Now, does that mean that the attack speed is worthless? Well, no, it's still a gain, and there are some other considerations to take into account. Well, again, it depends on your build. So, for example, what is it that you could get instead of getting more attack speed, and is it worth it? So, for example, you might get 20% more damage instead, and is that worth it? Possibly. But attack speed does help you with other things besides just damage. So, for example, getting more hits can provide you with more often lucky hits, which then that can translate to more damage or more survival or more crowd control. And then also this can increase your survival. So for example, if you have Undying, the vampiric power, well, by hitting faster, you're going to generate more health faster. And one other thing to consider is that if, say, you decide to give up some damage in order to increase your attack speed, that can potentially reduce overkilling. Because if a mob only has 100 health, it doesn't really matter if you hit them for 500 or you hit them for 400. Either way, they're dead. So it's better to just hit more mobs than hit one mob really, really hard. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you like this content, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.